So this is one of the first videos in a series of videos which I'm thinking of producing every single year. And it will kind of be a year in review of entrepreneurship, where I speak about the specific journey of the year, what I've learned, the mistakes I've made, um, the changes and strategies which I'm going to be applying moving forward. And yeah, so I'm probably going to do this one to kind of keep myself accountable to the changes which I say I'm going to make, and two, just to share the journey with other people who are on it, and to see my mistakes so you don't make the same mistakes, right? So I'll probably start off with like the why of entrepreneurship. This is my first year in entrepreneurship, and then I'll probably move into the challenges and the big mistakes which I've made. So hopefully you don't make them, and kind of the goals moving forward for the next year, 2026, and the business and entrepreneurship and whatnot. So the why kind of was quite simple for me. So like I'd been very like heavily invested in like finance when I was very young. So like I started investing in the S&P 500 and everything around like stocks and wealth and whatnot when I was 15. And ever since then, I started to slowly realize that that's going to take a long time, to kind of actualize what I want within like, a reasonable time frame. So this is obviously like sped up by the influence of the people like Iman Gatsi and, like the Andrew Tates and whatnot, the people who drive the fast cars, the Jake Pauls, the influence of this world, like they obviously have an influence on you when you're quite young. And I was like, I like that kind of aspect of, building something and, sharing it. So I was like, that's something I want to do, right? So like I'd always had that in the back of my mind, and that was during high school. And I kind of made the same promise to myself that, like once you're out of high school, like kind of the world is your oyster and you are like that in direct control of like where you go. So that's kind of like why I started, I was like, I really want that. So I'm gonna try and work towards it. And work towards it I did. So I started off with my AI agency, Next Orbit AI. One, because I'd seen a whole lot of YouTube videos on it, and two, the world is like very much so going into AI, because isn't it crazy that you can have like a consultant, an omnipresent consultant in your pocket, something that can code for you, that can explain complex topics, like speak directly to you, and like you ask it a problem and it solves your problem. And like kind of that was quite enticing, like quite game changing, quite honestly. So I was like, yeah, there's definitely like business applications for this. And like a whole lot of YouTube videos were kind of my guiding force of business foundations into my AI agency. So I started my AI agency when I was, end of November, end of matric. So and I decided, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go in the AI agency route. So I spent like the first couple of months just learning, and December, January, and I just stuck to VoiceFlow and like Make.com, because the world of automation when you're just starting out can seem very overwhelming. So like, let me just pick, and I'd picked those two. And after I'd like learned the solid foundations of like, what's possible and like what you can actually build, I started doing outreach, and I started firstly out with my warm network. I was like, who do I know who owns a business? And that's how I landed my first client within like a month. It was a free project. So like at this point I'd made nothing so far. Um, and I continued to not make anything because I just believe that, okay, I'm new in this. Let me get the experience, because experience will take me a whole lot faster, uh, or a whole lot further later rather than it will now. So it's kind of like the Alex Hormozyism. It's like, don't be in a rush now, otherwise like you'll trip up, whatnot. Say something like that. So yeah, that was my first few project. It was a travel agency, and I built a chatbot for them on VoiceFlow. Now the chatbot did work, right? But was it very useful? Not really. I wasn't really solving a critical problem. And that's something which I had learned. If you're not solving critical problems, then your solutions are kind of like useless, and they're not very valuable. And trying to sell them is just it becomes a whole lot harder. And I'll get into kind of like the pitfalls and like lessons I've learned along the way. But yeah, that's kind of like one of the first lessons which I learned. So that was my first project. And the second project was with the same client, which I created like this SEO optimized automation whereby we would create like travel blogs that were SEO optimized and to try and like generate traffic to the website. And at the time, I had no idea what SEO was, so I was just kind of like putting out together research, and I was like saying, okay, this is SEO, surely it can work, whatnot. But really, SEO is like one of those things which is like really slow grind, and there's not a whole lot of value in that once again. So that was my second project, and yeah, I just got a whole lot of experience from that, with that first client. And then I was doing some more outreach. By the time it is probably around March, and I'd signed my second client, right? And the second client was also free. So I've been in this for like 6 months at the time. I had not made anything, but I had kept grinding, and I had signed my second client, and it was a previous contact, warm network, of course, and it was a coach, right? He's a coach who teaches students how to study better. Quite simple. And I had got into it saying, hey, let me audit your business and see specifically how AI can help you. That was my pitch. There's an issue with that, which I'm gonna get into. Um, and yeah, that was kind of like the whole process, and we had like drummed up a few issues, and now I'm starting to realize something a bit more, like, issues that are pertinent, that are like close to revenue, that are close to like really painful problems. Like you just get, and you find a solution for it. That's how you create value. So the issue that like we'd found in this audit process was like he wasn't like generating real traffic to his business. And the way I'd like solved this problem was with a AI personalized lead magnet, right? And this lead magnet was basically taking Alex Hormozi's strategy. I have some business mentors in the YouTube space who I just watch religiously. He's one of them, and kind of like AIified it. So it was like, you get a free study guide that is personalized to you. You put in a bunch of information, and you get like a personalized guide. And then, from that personalized guide, like, we follow up and try and get them into like a workshop, because that was like his main offer. And that did work. Not initially though, because we had just had that, and his like lead generation strategies was to going like around schools and kind of like presenting it, and then he'd put up the QR code for that lead magnet, and he did get a few opt-ins, but not really anything to move the needle. So I'd seen this, and I was like, hey, um, let me also try and make this work again. So I had experience back in the day running Facebook ads for my drop shipping store. I think it was ZA Shopfront. Don't ask me any questions about that. That was a failed experiment. Like I think I was like 16, 17 when I had made that job store. But I digress. So I was like, hey, we can run some Facebook ads to it, and worst that can happen is you generate leads, or you spend like, say, like 2,000 rand, and you tried, right? So he was like, okay, yeah, this seems good. And we ran the ads to it, and did it pop off. We got like 385 leads within like 14 days. Um, and that later led to a whole bunch of sales down the line. And at this point, the solution was working, but it definitely had some better like things to. It definitely had more things to add to it, and like a bit more could be a bit more fleshed out. So that's what I did. I kind of like made a full system, which I'm gonna get into because it plays into how I got paid later down the line. And yeah, so like, also a lesson learned there is like, stick with your clients, because if you deliver for them and just, you're really obsessed with like the results that they get, you can get rewarded, even if later down the line, even if you build something for free, it's just starting out. So that client, like after the work, that coach, after the work I'd been doing for him, he actually referred me to my first paying client. So at this time, it's around May, September. And that's like my first paying client. It was actually an old school teacher, head of department, and she was spending a whole lot of time making student reports. Like I'm talking like 30 plus hours a year on this stuff. And it's just like quite mundane tasks when you're, like one of the leaders in that like department. So I created a very simple automation. There was like a couple modules in make.com, nothing like crazy, like, these AI viral short clippers, AI ad. No. Very simple. got me paid my first 8,000 rand, literally. And you know that feeling when you get your first paid client, it was crazy. I've still got the screenshot up. Yeah, so like kind of like solidifies and brings into reality the idea of making money online. So I was like, oh, that's quite a cool moment for me. And so yeah, that was my third client at the time. And I'm still working with the coach. So I go back to the coach. I'm like, hey, we can improve the system, and I'd pitched him on a whole upgrade. And that pitch landed me my second payment of 20,000 rand with a monthly recurring revenue of 8,000. And if most of you like probably came from my Instagram video, which blew up, which I'll get to, um, that was kind of the solution which I was talking about. And yeah, so that's kind of like a full circle moment as well. So like, you deliver value, value, and then you ask, that's kind of like a philosophy that you can take. I don't know if you want to take it or not. So yeah, I had signed that client, and now after this, at this stage, like the plateau was starting to come. Like I just wasn't booking calls. Um, I wasn't signing clients. And did I know the issue? No, I didn't. But I know now, because hindsight is 2020. But in the moment, I did not know the issue as to why everything was just going wrong. But I'll get into why it was going wrong. So at this point in time, I joined a course specifically. I paid a lot of money to learn specifically about, building out AI automations for businesses. And I'd gone through this course, I had listened to the material, and the issue, and like here's the issue, like that's just recurring theme from this year, is applying information that you learn. Information is only as dangerous as the person who applies it. Like it can be the cure to cancer, but like if you're not gonna go synthesize the microbiomes to cure the cancer, like it's useless. So that's kind of like something which I'll learn, I'm gonna touch into. But I didn't really apply. So like I didn't get all those results like I could have gotten. And I'm well aware of it. And that's kind of the reason as to like kind of why I'm also making this video, is just like to hold myself accountable, because I'll get into that stuff. So like I joined that course, and I'd followed the action items to say. And was I fully actioning those items? No, I was half-assing it. That's why I was getting half-ass results. So now I'd just been consistent, or consistent in quotation marks. And so along this time, I'd also been creating content on YouTube, one video per week as per the course recommends. Or it was not even per the course recommends, it was 2 videos a week, but I was like, 2 videos is too much. Um, so I was creating a video a week. And the videos I was creating also had issues, which I'll get into, as to like why they weren't really working. So yeah, I've just been creating content on YouTube, still learning these AI automations, still building them out myself. I was working every day, working on the right things, probably not, but working every day nonetheless. And it was like, yeah, so like a couple like months were slow, like 3 months were like quite slow. I'd just been working with my one client who I'd built a system for, and like we're just kind of optimizing. And I had decided, hey, let me post an Instagram video, because I know like short forms are a whole lot easier to create than long form, especially when you're sitting down for like 2 to 5 hours building out automations for a video. So I was like, hey, let me just create some short form. And I created that short form, and that like first proper piece of short form I made, it blew up. And it got like, I think now it's like 60K views. And that piece of content like really unlocked something very specific about content for me. So like content is kind of like marketing, right? Content is marketing. I did not understand that. And I just thought content was like, something you just put out there, see what sticks, and that's how it works. But no. Short form content is kind of like your top of the funnel content, because it's shown in front of everyone. Like you've probably seen the amount of TikToks that you've seen today, like 90% of those TikToks, you're not following the person whose video you watched. So it's top of the funnel content. It allows you to like spread your content wide. And these topics are like, kind of high virality topics, like how to make money online. These are appealing. These are like, as Alex Hormozy puts it, the health, wealth, relationships type of things. You can cast your net out quite wide in these short form markets. And then you go into the middle of the funnel content for content. And the middle of the funnel content should be like there to nurture the audience, which is captured by that top of the funnel. So my top of the funnel content, which blew up on Instagram, was how I made, I think it was 20K, for how I made my 8K retainer from that 20K system, which I'd built for the coach. And that was top of the funnel because, people learn to make money, especially when it's like a South African context. Not many people are posting about that. So it blew up. And from that content, prospects saw a whole lot more of my stuff, and like they clicked onto my YouTube. I'd been consistent. I've been posting videos weekly on YouTube, and they'd seen, oh wow, this guy knows his stuff, and something clicked there. The content on YouTube is nurturing content. It's not distribution content, because you'll be like fighting an uphill battle if you only rely on YouTube, which I was in the beginning. And it's very up to chance, algorithm and whatnot. So content, especially YouTube, is for middle of the funnel. And that led to a client booking a call with me because they had seen that video on Instagram, gone to my YouTube, seen a whole bunch of my content on YouTube, seen like I'd created like 4-hour tutorials, an hour tutorial here, an hour tutorial there. I know how to build out AI solutions. So they booked a call with me, and that's how I signed a 3K client, right? In dollars. So like the ticket prices, they're going up. It took me like 10 months, but I had made the 10K. Oh no, not 10K, the 3K dollars from that. So that's kind of like what, 50,000 rand, something around that. So I'd signed that client, and I delivered for that client. It took me about like a month or so to deliver. At this point, it's still me. So the business is very much glorified freelancer, and that's kind of like where we are. Like there's a whole lot of things which I'm not leaving out, because like this video would be very long. I'm already looking at the time, and it's 17 minutes already. So I just want to keep it value dense, value per second for you. So like it's actually good. So let me talk about specifically the lessons I'd learned, right, along the way. So in terms of business success, it boils down to a couple of factors and variables. And I think, like, obviously I've learned this through courses now that I've been watching, like so many hours of courses in business strategy, read so many books. Business success boils down to an offer, a niche, a problem, a solution, and there's another fifth element. But those variables, right, they work interchangeably. And when one of them is missing, business success is impossible. And I know, because I had made some money through AI, through my business, but not a consistent amount to be happy with. Not hitting my goal, most definitely not. Even though I've made like something like 100K this year, like profit is next to zero. What I was missing was specifically a whole lot of things. I'd gone into this year kind of this business with a solution, with a hammer. Like if I see anything, I'm gonna hammer it with AI solution, this AI automation, this AI thing, that. And yes, it worked. I got a few clients, but like a scalpel always beat a hammer in brain surgery. Like that's kind of what I've come to learn. So just coming in with one solution that's not even like relevant to a specific niche. I didn't have a niche for the whole entire year. So like whenever I'd build something like that, starting from scratch, like, the operational overhead, no wonder it was taking me like months to build out stuff for clients, and like almost knocking out my ops and like outreach and content, because I was spending so much time and like building the stuff for clients. So no niche killed me because I couldn't make good content. If you go to my YouTube and see, oh, watch that. If you go to my content and see like my videos, you could not tell me what niche that is appealing to. I was creating content for AI agency owners in my second month in, how to make 10K with AI, your AI roadmap, and I'd not even done it, like, this is like kind of the stupid stuff that you do, like when you're going through it, and I'm starting to realize. And like, yeah, so that niche is just like, when you don't have a niche, like you're not speaking to one person. And in a crowd of people, if you say, hey, A few people are gonna turn around. Those are the few clients which I'd signed. Those few people who I said hey, and they turned around. But if you say moms, in a crowd, all the moms are gonna turn around. You're gonna see a whole lot more people turn around. And if you say John, only John is gonna turn around, and you can speak directly to John and who you need to speak to about your solution because you know their problem. And without a niche, you can't find a problem because there's so many problems in this world of business and like problems you can solve with AI that it just becomes impossible to pick one. And if you don't pick one, like your life just becomes a whole lot harder. And I found that out. So that's kind of like why. That's my hypothesis of why my business has not been that successful, or my definition of success. Because I just was missing an offer. Also, I did not have an offer because you need a niche, you need a problem, you need a solution to create an offer. It's like kind of, the building bricks, you can't have 5 times 5 if you don't know 1 plus 1. It's these foundational aspects of business which I was just completely missing. And that's kind of like the first like issue with that business, and what I want to change when I talk about that, and like the goals for next year and moving forward. The next issue was the mindset. It was most definitely to do with like my consistency and application, right? I was spending like most of my days like watching YouTube videos, like a whole lot of information about like business strategy, outreach strategy, content creation, AI and automation. Like I was just like a sponge. I was soaking it all in. But when it came to actually applying it, I didn't apply a majority of the stuff I watched. Like the info that you watch, it can just become very entertaining if you let it and you don't like actually apply it. And something which I've realized, so like I'd watch these videos, I might apply it for like 1 week. That's when the consistency would fall off. Like I don't see the results. I'm like, hey, this is not working for me. And then like the thing is, I'm the problem because I'm not giving it the time horizon which it needs to see the outcome which I want. So that's kind of sabotaging and shooting myself in the foot by doing that. So the application consistency is something and somewhere which I really fell off, right? Yeah. So like I would apply the stuff, but I'd half-ass it. Like the course which I was watching, like they told me you need to create content. Create content I did, but not at the volume which was required. They told us 2 pieces of YouTube content. I'd create like 1 every single week. So like when you have inconsistent inputs, you can't expect consistent outputs. Realizations, like you can only realize them if you've gone through them, That's kind of like one of the biggest like things that I've learned, And also, what else? There's also like discipline, like I would say, hey, I'm gonna do this. Did I do it? No. Like, and the things, I have the information. I know what to do in most cases, but am I doing it? No, which is bad. And yeah, so that's why I'm creating this video as well, to kind of hold myself accountable and like change and put my best self forward. So hence me making the video. So with all those lessons and specifically my issues and kind of like the pitfalls of running this business, what's going to change, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So what's changing is I'm picking a niche. I've got like 5 boiled down, but I'm gonna spend like proper time picking the niche. I'm gonna pick one problem from the skill set which I've been building. Because I know AI and automation, like really I can build most automations, like and voice agents and whatnot. It's not that hard for me. Apply the problem to, or my skills to, a specific problem. That's probably also what I'm gonna do. Create an offer around it, number 2, and then do outreach. My outreach efforts were like abysmal this year. Like when I'd actually sat down and like actually said, okay, I'm gonna outreach to people, I got very little responses. I did it for cold email, and I did it for like a month, even though like instantly it was dicking me about. I'm not even gonna get into that. That's not consistent enough time to like see results. So I fell off. I didn't book a single call through cold email, by the way, and I spent like so much money on cold email. And then I started doing Instagram outreach. And then when I actually did that consistently, I started booking calls, you know. I'd book like 4 calls in like 1 week through Instagram DMs because I was actually just focusing on one niche, one problem, one solution, and like just like the velocity that you can see when you like do that. It's kind of crazy. But then again, I kind of like got very, very interrupted. I had exams by then and also like went to Japan. So I fell off. You're starting to see a consistent pattern in the lack of consistency here. So also a big thing that's moving forward is a consistency. Like consistency is king, as they say. I thought I was Mr. Consistent, not so much. So that's kind of like something I just really need to apply and move and start changing when I move forward. So that's what I'm doing there. So it's really going back to the foundations of business, really the offer, the problem, the solution, the niche. Those aspects will lead to business success with time. Also, time is really a constant in it all. Like you have to give things time and consistently.